How you doing? Can you hear me? See me? Okay, let me see something. Okay, say something now.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, cool. Tried to fix my hair. I'm like, this is the first I actually tried to fix my own hair today. But you should have seen what I had. I was rocking the Don King do a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah?
Just from being under the weather and stuff, and just like, you know, my hair has not been like totally working with me too well. So
Yeah, I get that. I understand, man.
yeah, it's been crazy. It's like trying to, and trying to go, I definitely need to go get my hair done, but it's like trying to fix it yourself. At least it didn't frizz out too bad. So
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
okay, whenever.
Okay. Um, Normally I have a countdown, so I give my countdown to myself. Okay.
Now, are we going to be live, or are you just, is it taping and then it'll
No,
play?
it's actually live. It's on Facebook
Okay.
right now.
Okay,
So
good. Cool.
yeah, so I'm gonna give myself the countdown. So I know it's unprofessional because yeah.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a great show planned for you today. Please don't forget to stay tuned to intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station for Warriors Talk with Rochelle at 6 p.m. She gives you the love, she gives you the inspiration, and she spreads it out throughout the week. Then she comes back on Monday and give you some more with a smile on your face. That's Rochelle, Warriors Talk at 6 p.m. Now, I want people to understand, and I really do hope and apologize for. I am broadcasting live at home because of the situation and the snowstorm that's going on. And I hope a lot of people will be safe and adhere to what people are saying. So please, if people say stay in, like I'm doing, and what Lisa is doing. So if you stay in, and I guarantee you it will be better. And trust me, do a call, check in with your neighbor, the elderly, and to the young people. And I just got to get on my soapbox, if it's okay, Lisa.
Oh,
um
definitely.
get on my soapbox right quick. If you see snow that is not shoveled and you're out there shoveling it, shovel it. It helps everybody out because you never know when you'll be like, I'm sick, or I have to go to work. I won't be able to do it. Be neighborly. Don't just say, well, it sucks to be them. No, don't do that. So please be neighborly. Shovel a person's snow that you know is a working mom, a dad that's doing what all he could do, but he's like, man, I'm so tired. I can't do nothing. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay. Tonight, my guest is known as the super duper producer.
Say that 10 times, right?
On WGCI. She produced shows for on-air personalities like Rick Party, Crazy Howard McGee, Doug Banks, and many, many more. Please give a Drive at 5 welcome to the one and only Lisa E. Welcome to the Drive.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. This is like my first social event in the past couple of weeks. I've been a little under the weather, so if you see me, I got my halls, so I'm not coughing. Tried to do my hair. Thank God for a hairstylist. Big shout out to the stylists everywhere, because I tried hard. So I apologize. I was rocking the Don King look about an hour ago. So I was like, we're going to be on camera. We're going to be on camera. So try and do something with it. So,
You know what? To make you feel comfortable during the COVID situation, I was rocking the Tony Curtis for a minute.
yeah, that's, I mean, everybody's got to do things, during this time. I mean, it's all about being safe and taking care of yourself, whether you have a cold, whether you have a cough, whether you have coronavirus, whether you have, the flu, anything. I mean, right now, especially during this weather, everybody's getting viral infection. Everybody's getting everything. I get a cough like twice a year. So I've got my water, my Halls. So I'm like, I'm good. So, but,
And another good advice, boost up your immune system because you never know what might happen. Take your vitamins. I know some people slip up and say, I'll get to it tomorrow night or I'll get to it, but just make a mental note, take your vitamins and boost up your immune system. It goes a long way.
yeah.
So Lisa, please give intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station your background.
So let's see. So I knew I wanted to do entertainment somehow. I started in theater and I went to University of Iowa first and I was communications major. And then it was kind of funny because I was this honors student growing up and graduated with honors, get to Iowa, got stuck in the last orientation. So I got stuck as a freshman in like the worst classes ever, like living religions of the East. I was with religion majors that it fulfilled like two different, how you get credits that fulfilled two different requirements. And so needless to say, I did really bad freshman year. So I came home for one semester to try and get my grades up to go back to Iowa. And when I came home to South Suburban College, which used to be Thornton Community College, they went on strike for a month. So it overlapped into Iowa's second semester. So I literally got stuck at home for a year. Then my cousin kind of convinced me about Columbia College, which was probably the best thing in my life. I loved Iowa, Hawkeyes forever, but Columbia definitely had what I needed. I was a theater major at first, but it was a little too dramatic with some of the people there. It was like living in a like Shakespearean play or something just in every day. And I was like, let me try radio and TV. I started taking a couple radio classes and I was hooked. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I started interning. My two first radio teachers who I love to death, and they're friends of mine, Harold Lee Rush, who was Doug Banks' producer for the morning show at Banks and Company at GCI, and Roz Varon, who was the traffic reporter at WFYR Radio, which is 103.5 KISS now. And when we had Roz Varon, we helped Roz put together this like video because Roz said they're going to start doing traffic on TV. So she auditioned for Channel 7, ABC Chicago, and needless to say, she got it, and she's been doing it ever since. So, so I got hooked, and we went on like a little field trip. Harold Rush took us to GCI, kind of snuck us in the morning because you're not really supposed to go there. Took us in, and when I saw it there, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And when I saw Doug Banks, I'm like, Doug was always one of my favorite personalities. Anyway, when I saw Doug, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do radio. I want to make people laugh. I want to use my voice. I want to be credible. I want to be a good platform for people to trust. And, it went from there.
What was the inspiration, like aha moment, when you said that this is what solidified when you was at Columbia College? They had a whole bunch of courses. You mentioned radio and television, but was it control board? Because I'm a Columbia College alum, and I fell in love with control board. And
I had Roz Varon for control board. I didn't like actually doing the board, like some of the engineering technical stuff. But I also had, oh my God, I forgot her name. She was great too. And she was on like 101. She was on like Q101. And she looked like Margot Kidder that played Lois Lane from Superman. I can't believe, I'll remember it later, but she was great too. And we would do different shows, like air checks of different, genres of music. And I mean, and I love music, so I love everything. GCI happened to be one of my favorite stations because I love R&B, I love hip hop, I love old school disco, but I pretty much would have worked anywhere. And when I found out that they were looking for interns, I didn't even get to the TV classes. When I got my first radio classes, I was hooked. And I was planning on working at WCRX, the college station, because all my friends were there. But then I found out that I became an intern at WGCI. Jackie Hasselrig brought me in, and I started on the AM on 1390, which was all talk at the time. And I started interning. I didn't get paid. Interns in our business, we don't get paid, but you get credit. I stayed on for a whole year for free. I got credit for one semester. I came even during the holiday when you're off for that month, paid for my train fare, and came and still worked. That's how much I loved being there. And I started working with Cliff Kelly, who was doing talk radio on 1390. And then they kind of switched things. And then I started working with Sybil Wilkes, who, of course, everybody knows, with Tom Joyner. Sybil was doing an overnight show for talk. Then they switched. They kind of got rid of everybody. But because I was the board operator, they kept me on just to play the music. And they went to Dusty Radio 1390. And then I started producing for Emily McKendall. And I taught LaDonna Tittle how to run the board. And I mean, I was working with all the
How
big
is
wigs.
that? LaDonna Tittle, the Tittle in the
middle. She's so crazy.
because LaDonna Tittle, if anybody knows LaDonna Tittle, she has this lively personality about herself.
Right. And I got anybody that knows Tittle knows that, yeah, I know that I'm loud and I'm fun, but she's about 10 times worse. We all did a broadcast in Disney World, and I was working with Gene Sparrow at the time. I was on FM and Tittle was on AM, and we went on the Tower of Terror together. And that's back when we didn't have cell phones. We had recorders, like the devices to record us on the actual rides. LaDonna cussed so much we couldn't even edit it because it was just like one big F word. We couldn't play any. We might have had from like the 5 minutes we were on there, we might have had about 10 seconds that we could have played because she was screaming, cussing it was so funny, but everything was a beep, beep, beep. You couldn't even play it on the air because she cussed through the whole thing. But
you still have that tape? You still have that tape?
No, I don't think so. But I have, I love, I have so many fun stories. And then when I started kind of getting in good with like Banks and Company, because AM and FM, we were side by side. And Marv Dyson, who was a president, general manager, Marv said to me, I think you would make a good fit doing a backup producing for Tom Joyner. And I had to learn how to produce, like working on AM on talk, because you had to find fun stuff to do. We had the AP Newswire. We didn't have internet at the time at all. So I had to come up with cool things and ways to like look up guests and learning how to produce and stuff like that. And so I started working with Tom Joyner. I was like, oh, this is going to either make or break my career. I was terrified because Tom had gotten the name The Fly Jock. He would be in Dallas for a couple days and he would be in Chicago for a few of the days. But when he would fly to Chicago, he would come in and he would tape the last hour. And it was back when we used to have the big reel to reels. So Tom would tape the last hour, and Tom was like precise with the time. So Tom would be in the limo the last hour and I would run the board for that last hour. And if you were like a second off or whatever, all of a sudden you would see beep, beep, the hotline ring, and Tom would be calling from the limo on his way to the airport. I'm like, oh God, I messed up. I was like, this is going to make or break me. I was terrified to work with him, but it worked out because I stayed on and I started, working with everybody, and then, started producing. And then Rick Party gave me the name, the super producer. And everybody's been calling me that ever since. So it's been pretty cool.
Let's talk about that. You worked with radio legends like Doug Banks, Tom Joyner, Rick Party, the Chocolate Jocks, you name it, you produced them. And
I love it. I have great stories. I love all of them are like family. That's the one good thing, like in this industry, it's like a cult. It's like a good cult. Like once you're in, you're in. And, you know, even though, like the one thing too, when I left WGCI to go to Power, it was probably the toughest decision I ever had to make. I got a job offer. They were doing a brand new morning show with Devontae Stone and Courtney Hicks, a baby girl, and they wanted me to produce the show. And I was like, wow, I'm actually going to leave GCI. And I had to think about it for a while. Nobody knew except one person who she runs promotions now, like at V103 and everything. She's the only one I told, because we were getting ready to do a live broadcast in Jamaica. I was doing the morning show with Crazy Howard, who was, you know, like my brother. And I wasn't mad at anybody, but I'm like, I didn't want to, I was like, I deserve this trip to Jamaica. So I didn't tell anybody. And then when I left, I was really missing everybody. I mean, I wrote letters. I wrote personalized letters to everybody, including the bosses, and thanked them for everything and for making me who I am. And, you know, and then for Crazy Howard McGee, I left, I'll never forget, because everybody was shocked. I left a folder for like maybe 3 to 4 weeks worth of, you know, like our trivia that we did, relationship questions, how you pull up different entertainment, because internet was still kind of new. So there wasn't like, you didn't have like TMZ, you didn't have, you know, ET online, you know, it wasn't stuff where you could just pull things up. It was very limited. And so I put, you know, how they could pull stuff up, and I left him about 4 weeks worth of stuff. So whoever filled in, all they had to do was just pull out the sheets, and they didn't have to think too much, because I didn't want them, you know, I wasn't upset with anybody. And so everybody was like, wow, Lisa did all this, you know, and I was like, that's what you call being professional. You know what I mean? And to this day, everybody's still my family. So
You were the key element of these shows. A lot of people don't, um, well, if you talk to a radio personality outside looking in, people think the radio personality does everything, blah, 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 blah. But then here comes Lisa E. Lisa E comes in, and not only were you on air, they put you on air, and you had to define that key element. Describe that to us about that key element to each and every show that you produce.
well,
Because, go ahead.
go ahead. No, finish what you were saying.
Well, because everyone has their own personality.
Right. Well, what I do is I study each person I work with. I've been very fortunate to become very close with everybody I've worked with, like brother, sister type of, you know, closeness. I will say everybody I've worked with has just been super multi-talented. And so that's definitely a plus. So it's a team effort. It's like, you know, where you fit in. Everything's a team effort. You know, as long as people can check their egos at the door, and we all know what our roles are, everybody can play off each other. You know, I mean, just because you're not the main event, if you're the supporting cast, you're just as important in your own way. And so I always tell people, you know, you get in where you fit in, and there's enough fame and fortune for all of us. And so like there were little things like Rick Party. When Rick would start his show, he wouldn't want anyone in the studio. He just he only wanted him and his producer. But the minute he opened up the mic, that very first time, Rick could talk in front of, and there could be a hurricane, a blizzard, you know, people vacuuming, and nothing would bother him. Crazy Howard McGee, when he first started, he had like a small mirror to talk like to himself. Everybody does think Devontae Stone always had to have a Coca-Cola or his coffee, you know? So it's like, you just kind of study the way people are. And then, I don't know, something with me about, I guess when I used to do with comedy and stuff, I always have been like, everybody's like, oh, you should do comedy. I can be funny, but not when people expect it. But when people say things, I just play well off of it. And I get these little hooks and liners and funny things to say, like brings new meaning to blah, blah, blah. And that was just been my kind of thing, you know, and it works well because it plays off of all the shows I've worked with. So, and it's just been fun. You got to have fun. You know, Doug Banks, when I worked with Doug Banks, you would never know what to expect. Working with Doug was like one of the most amazing things ever. He was just so funny, so fun. I can't, it was just entertaining. It was like you could not wait to get to work to see what Doug was going to do the next day. So it's just fun. You just study people and work with them.
Any stories that you can share that stands out about Doug Banks?
So there's one story, and it's kind of funny. So, I mean, with Doug, everything was funny. Doug used to do, so we have Jerry, the curl man, Jerry Cook, and Jerry was the board op, the engineer. And when he would go out and have a smoke, sometimes Doug would be like, I got this, I got this. So Doug would run on one end and talk. Then he's like running around the state, like to move the board and stuff, and then running around. Cause back then, like now everything you can program when you talk over it. But back then it was just so funny. So Doug would do this. But this was one time, Karen Lightfoot, who used to be Doug's producer, Karen had left and I took over, but I used to fill in for Karen. And I used to fill in like as a backup producer, and Karen had surgery on her leg or something. So I was filling in, and I guess they just forgot to tell me about a guest that was coming in, and they didn't know that I didn't know. And so all of a sudden I'm in the other room pulling carts, because everything was like, looked like the 8-track tapes back in the day for the music. And I walk in the studio. Now, I don't know if you remember the movie Candyman. Remember Candyman?
Yeah.
And you don't want to look in the mirror and say Candyman like 5 times, this huge man. So I walk in the studio, I'm coming in there. All of a sudden, who is sitting at the studio, sitting down in the chair was the Candyman. I literally screamed because I was putting stuff away. I had nothing in my hands, thank God. I walk in the studio and the Candyman is sitting in the studio. I started screaming because I'm like, oh my God. So Doug and them, they had no clue. Somebody else had let him in because I was in the other room putting carts away. They didn't know that I didn't know he was coming in the studio. They forgot to tell me. Karen forgot to like leave it for me that he was a guest. So Doug literally laid on the floor laughing for maybe 10 minutes. And I usually would carry, back in the day, we had our little Kodak instant cameras. And I didn't have it with me because I would have taken a picture, but they were on the floor laughing. Doug was almost in tears crying because they were laughing so hard. Because I walk in, I mean, what do you expect? You see the guy, because they were filming Candyman 2 in Chicago. And, I literally lost it. I screamed. I'm like, you walk in the studio and the freaking Candyman is sitting there in front of you. I literally lost it. And I don't get scared that easy, but I was screaming. And Doug was laying on the ground laughing for maybe like 10 straight minutes. It was hilarious. So
if you put it all together, what is your best, I would say, memorable moment working at WGCI?
God, there's so many. I mean, there's so many. Like I said, working with somebody like a Tom, to see Tom Joyner, but working with Doug was probably, I can't even describe it. I mean, I was so excited because I was such a fan of Doug's. And then, when Doug referred to me like his little sister, and then Doug and I would have conversations on the phone and talk, and he would give me great advice over the years. And, he was just always just such a good, I don't know, just such a great personality and such a good human. I mean, the friendships, I mean, Gene Sparrow, Gene and I had sort of worked a little bit together because Gene was doing traffic when I was with Doug's show. And then somehow Gene got Midday show and I was Gene's producer. And Gene is actually like one of my closest friends. Like Gene is somebody that I consider one of my closest friends in life. And, it's from doing radio. I mean, we had fun we went to Disney World and, they would close down one of the parks for all the media. So everybody would be drinking like the wines and stuff. Gene and I are like, we were in the Magic Kingdom. We're like, forget that. We went to the Winnie the Pooh ride. We're in the teacups flying around like 2 little kids. It was hilarious. Gene and I had like the time of our life in Disney World. So
he wasn't cursing like a sailor like LaDonald Tittle.
No. That was the Tower of Terror. Yeah, that was the Tower of Terror when we went down. But it was just fun. I mean, Rick Party and I, we did broadcasts. And the Billboard Music Awards, Billboard Awards were so much fun. I did that with Rick as well as Sam Silk. just I love working with all of them. Me and Devontae Stone, when we started working at Power 92, just as we started working there, like a few months later, our morning show got picked. We were the only ones in Chicago that got picked to go to the Olympics in Greece. So we got to go to Athens, Greece, and broadcast live from there. And unfortunately, Courtney Hicks got ill. She wasn't able to travel. So it was just Stone Pony and I. And I mean, oh my God, the times like these, like when you go on these trips and, they take care of you, it's like, you can't even describe them. It's so much fun. And that's one of the perks of being in the industry. And we just had so much fun. So yeah, I love live broadcasts.
Now, you just didn't work with Doug Banks' Rick Party. However, you worked with the women of WGCI. You worked with my former mentor, Shannon Dale. You worked with Irene Mojica. You worked with Jean Sparrow. As you reflect back, working with these women, have you ever thought, wow, I'm working with these women that paved the way for me to be here, to produce, and to be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I looked up like Sybil Wilkes. Sybil was like a big sister to me. And, I learned a lot from, matter of fact, when they used to fill in and do Babes and Company. And it was Bonnie DeShong, it was AJ Parker, and it was Bonnie, AJ, and who else do we just say? They call
Jean
it Babe.
Sparrow?
No, not Jean. Oh my God, why did I just forget who it was? It was Bonnie, AJ. Somebody's gonna put it on there, and they did Babes and Company, and it was and Sybil, duh, and it was so much fun because they would fill in instead of Banks and Company and did Babes and Company. And Bonnie DeShong is actually, Bonnie and Doug are like my two mentors. Bonnie was the first person that said, you know what, Lisa's got this personality and stuff, and Bonnie used to do, her Eye on Entertainment, and she let me go, and I started covering the NBA. I'm a big sports person, and I started covering the NBA, and Bonnie let me record some stuff. I went and recorded some people from Phoenix Suns. I was a huge Charles Barkley fan, and Charles was with the Phoenix Suns, and I went and recorded some of the people, and I started doing entertainment. And Bonnie was the first person that said, you know what, I'm just going to let you do it. And she just trusted me, and she literally paved the way and looked out for me. Bonnie's always had my back. AJ Parker, Sybil Wilkes, Emily McKendall and I had a really strong friendship. Irene Mojica, she was always just a professional. Irene had that voice. Shannon Dell. Shannon spoke really well. She did things sometimes the wrong way, that her delivery of things, but her message was a great message. And Shannon always was very kind to me and would always give me great advice. And I remember one time somebody I don't even remember what happened, but I got robbed for something. And Shannon was the one, she's like, Lisa, calm down. It's going to be okay. You're going to get your stuff back. Here, what do we need to get you? Here's, for the train and stuff. And, and she calmed me down and everything. And it was, so I've always had people that have always looked out for me. That's one thing. We've always just had this, unique, relationship. Working with Courtney Hicks, I was really excited to work with Courtney, because Courtney was like the first, female too, that was like an anchor of a morning show, in radio. Now, of course, there's a lot more, but, Courtney was one of the first to actually be the lead for a morning show. So, it's been, we've had some really good times. Alex Dupree, Alex and I got to work together also when she came in with Trey, but I had worked with Alex and some of the other people at GCI as well. But it's just so many. I've just have so many wonderful stories, and we've just had, it's been just it's fun, but it's a lot of hard work at the same time. But I think it pays off. And, when you love what you're doing, it makes it that much better.
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. Yeah, here we go.
Okay, let me take a drink.
I will not let you go because a lot of people are saying, what happened to Irene Mojico? Where is she?
Oh, I don't know. Well, you know what? Somebody had tracked her down. I know she owned a lot of different properties, and I know Armando Rivero still kept in touch with her. Um, Armando had talked to her. I know they were trying to track her down to do something because she just kind of like she really did. She kind of disappeared. She was doing radio and she kind of disappeared. But I know a few of us had been talking about her just to try and like get in touch with her. And Irene was sometimes special. Irene like didn't like sharing people. When I had to work with Irene and Rick Party, and she didn't. When I would go on trips and stuff, she didn't like that because she just wanted to meet all to herself, which it was funny in a way. But
That sounds like Irene.
it does. But Irene was so talented. I mean, her voice, and like when back with internet, you didn't have internet, and she would give her like helpful hints, like things that, household things you could do to take away, a bee sting or, whatever. Irene always had her helpful tips and stuff like that. And she was just very, and I worked with Irene overnights too, when I used to run when it turned to Dusty Radio 1390, I was actually running the Larry King show. Rest in peace to Larry King, who's legendary. I used to run the Larry King show live from it was like 10 to midnight, and then midnight to 4 I would play music. And Irene was overnight on the FM side. So we would, and she would come back from hosting parties, and then she would bring like pajamas and change or sweatpants. So, it was just like the two of us there overnights, sometimes. So I got to kind of know her pretty well. And we're trying to track her down. I know she was doing a lot of her stuff with her real estate and everything, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else, she's doing now.
Well, let her know that a lot of people miss hearing from her,
Oh yeah,
seeing her,
definitely.
and they miss her personality, because you don't get that type of personality like you used to have. It was like you used to turn on the radio and you feel like somebody say, just pull up a chair, we'll just play a song or two and we'll just have a conversation. You don't have that anymore.
Right. Well, that's everybody used to know that so and so is on at this time, this time, this time.
Right.
And it's so weird. I've gotten in the car before just turning on the radio expecting to hear Doug. You know what I mean? It's like that one really hit me hard. When Doug passed, that like I was in major disbelief about that one for a long time. It was like I was like, no, that can't be real. But we've had different, I mean, from all the people we worked with. I mean, Mike Love and the Diz, and we used to do the Stopping the Hit shows, and I would produce for them. Jam and Dave Michaels, I mean, we used to have so many
Frankie
different
J.
people. Oh, Frankie J and Ramonski that did the A side and the B side. And, Richard Peggy, that was one of my teachers, and his son, Chris Peggy. I got to know Chris when Chris was like in high school, because I was running the church shows on the AM side on Sundays. And so I would come and kind of crash in the room, and the Rap Down show would be on the FM side with Frankie J and my man Disco Dave, rest in peace, and Ramonski Love. And then Richard Peggy was doing the Best Music of Your Life. So it was just kind of, I mean, we just had some iconic people. Like it was just amazing. And I was just so fortunate to learn from all of them and develop my own like character, personality, if you will. But I take so many of the things they say. I listen to what everybody says, and I take in what they say, and the advice. And I came from a very strong group of people that I'm forever grateful for.
The monikers that that we all fell in love with, like mine's with my with Shannon Dale, Loving You Like a Sister.
Mm-hmm.
You had Amando, the freaking Puerto Rican. You had
that was Donnie Devo. Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
Devo.
Donnie Devo. Okay, so it was a lot of association with the personalities and stuff like that. Did they have a nickname for you?
Well, Rick Party nicknamed me the super producer. So Rick gave me that, and then I used to do my growl. So, and it was a joke at first, like the Eartha Kitt growl. It was a joke. I just did my growl on the air. And then all of a sudden the next day, people started requesting it. So then it turned into a thing. And then every time I host parties, when I'm on the air, I do the growl. Everybody, it's just, it was like a total joke. And now everybody's like, we want to hear the growl, and so it's, ow, I can still do it even under the weather, but yeah. So
you still get it.
Yeah, still got it, and it's fun because it just like things just happen out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like Crazy Howard McGee had all of his, Howard had crazy things that everybody, like Howard's little things like, man, I'm to break this window, man, I'm about to like. Howard had so many different things that was just, which we all still know about Howard. So
like the crit dead. Ooh.
Right. Right.
Right.
Crit. Right.
I know if he's watching, he'll be cracking up laughing as we try to imitate him. So my question is kind of like, as you do a comparison analysis, do you think radio has changed for the better or for the worse? As far as, you have great people and great personalities, but it's not the same flavor like back in the day. Like you had this connection with the radio personalities. You don't feel that anymore.
Right. Well, I think the difference is that now there's so many different platforms for internet, for podcasts, for, just live streaming, for people going to Sirius radio. I mean, there's so many different things to choose from. People want to just hear their own music, so they'll program their own music. So I think that plays a big part of it. And especially in somewhere, if you're in Chicago is a very personality driven town. That's why, like, we're still big on it. I mean, we still have very talented people, on the air. It's just that there's so many different platforms now, but, we're still a personality driven town. And, sometimes I think things are kind of, to me, I'm hoping things kind of go back to some of the basic values of what we have. And the only thing is now too, because everybody that's on a platform, people have to understand you have to be credible. Everybody thinks like, oh, I'm going to do my podcast, I'm going to do my thing. And they think that you just pull up a mic and start talking, and they don't realize until they get on, it's not that easy. You have to still prepare. You have to make sure that if you talk about something, and now like with social media, everybody, when you put something on social media, you have to take responsibility, especially when somebody passes away. And that's one of the things with my broadcasting family. I've had to send little private messages to people, because when they jump on some of the bandwagons of so-and-so passed away, I don't know what it is. When somebody passes, they want to be the first to announce it. Like, we're going to pat them on the back. I don't know what that is, but it's just a thing. People want to be the first to announce that somebody dies. And you have to be credible. You have to know that it's true, because there's times that people have said somebody passed and they didn't pass, or they were on life support, but they didn't die till the next day. And who would want that? If you put the shoes on your foot, would you want somebody talking about your mother or father that way? If your parent is in the hospital, you don't want somebody announcing a death that didn't happen. You know what I mean? That's just, to me, that's awful. And I've had to send, I would never bust somebody out, but I've had to send top media people like, so-and-so didn't die, like it's fake, or you're reading a story of somebody that passed away 5 years ago and it just resurfaced on social media. So we have to take responsibility to ourselves. The one thing I don't like, it's a blessing and a curse when somebody big, high profile passes, and I start getting text messages like, Lisa, if you tell me it's true, I know it's true. And I'm like, wait, I didn't know about this. Like when Prince passed the week after Doug passed, and I had all these people asking me, and I had to do the research to make sure it was true, because I was still in shock over Doug. And then now here it is, Prince just passed away, but I'll never forget when Luther Vandross, back before social media, they had said, somebody called us at GCI and said Luther passed away. And I forgot who I was producing. I don't remember if it was Rick or Devontae. And I think we didn't want to say it. And they were like, no, announce it. And like, well, the record rep, they didn't tell us. And it turned out he didn't pass. He was alive. He ended up passing after he had, people announced it like 3 or 4 times over the years, but you just don't, you want to be responsible and a credible person. So.
Yeah, some of the things that you get across your desk or something like that. I think we live in a society of the TMZ moment. The
Yeah.
TMZ and what they did to Kobe Bryant received a lot of setbacks. To say we gotta be cognizant, because sometimes the family is not even notified and they hear this on the air, and you don't know if they're driving. You don't know. Give them the
Exactly.
courtesy of that.
Yeah.
So you being a producer, you have to make those calls. So I remember one time Sinbad, I know he suffered a stroke, but Sinbad was dead quite a few times. And it was like it was all over the internet. And again, there were people that was reporting it, there were people that was saying things, but someone had to say it's not true, and then they refused to walk it back. Tell us, being a producer, that you have to make that judgment call, and like you said regarding the Prince and other artists, that you have to make that call, and you have to, because at that time you didn't have internet to verify, or you have to quickly look up the AP wire to say, what, if the AP wire reports it, it got to be true. So
I'm a researcher. I'm a big researcher, and I don't like reporting that. I will get into a debate argument with somebody saying, guys, we can't do this. We have to be credible until a family member or a record rep or somebody says it from like their mouth to our mouth. Like, I can't remember who it was. Somebody had reported, what celebrity was it? That they passed or something. And they said, well, it was a family member from whatever city it was. So I called that outlet. It was from like NBC and whatever the city was. I called and I said, well, who said? They said it was a family friend. And I was like, no, I haven't seen it on CNN. If you don't see it on a reputable source, or firsthand that it's true, I just don't know why this death thing, everybody, like, why can't we report good news? People are so quick to like put something negative out there versus positive. You know what I mean? Like I still like the Ellen, I call it the Ellen factor, be kind to one another. I mean, we all have sad news and we all have stuff, but I just don't know why it's like everybody wants to get patted on the back. Well, so-and-so was the first to report that so-and-so died. I mean, we're not going to get a cookie. The person passed away. You know what I mean? The way we handled stuff with Kobe, I mean, that was very hard for me, because Kobe was a friend, and that was very tough. I was doing mornings with Ramonski Love when it happened, and just pulling the story up and pulling everything. It was very tough. It's tough when you know somebody. And then I was getting a few of the NBA guys calling in just to give their take on some of the stuff. And it was tough, but it's the way you deliver and the way you handle it that makes you different from somebody else. And you have to make sometimes those decisions, what to put out there, what not to be. Sometimes you want to take somebody's side of the story. Like, matter of fact, just a few months ago, because I produced for Book of Dawn, that's on Maze Jackson's platform for What's in It for the Black People. Maze started this whole platform and has different shows on there. And I reached out. I don't know if you remember, they call him like the dreadhead cowboy, the young man that rode his horse on Dan Ryan. And when we saw the story, I was like, I mean, sometimes media or things get portrayed in a different way. He was not he didn't think, first of all, we all make mistakes. He didn't think, but did he think that his horse was going to get tired out. He didn't think that the Dan Ryan is not proper for my horse. His horse is like his child. So he was like in tear. I mean, he did an interview with us and gave his side of the story, saying, I was trying to just help people. I didn't think if I had to do it over, no, I wouldn't take my horse on the Dan Ryan. But everybody's so easy to condemn somebody until they know what really happened. He said, my horse is my child. So I'm very worried about my horse. I mean, I kept in touch with him afterwards, and then they did like a press conference with him. And, he was just very, everybody can't be too quick to judge everybody, because yes, we all make mistakes. We all do. I don't even want to say stupid things, but we all do. We all make mistakes. And if you look back, like, wow, what was I thinking? We all do that. But do people do things being malicious? Not all the time. So you just kind of have to pick and choose what you think is fair. And I've always been somebody, I always look out for an underdog. I don't like things where I know somebody could potentially shouldn't be condemned. And so I'm a person that likes to get somebody's point of view across, from their side. And then people can kind of see both sides, to the story.
Well, I mean, yes, but we live in a society, as well as you know, in a society where we judge first.
Definitely.
And everybody becomes an analysis of some sort, an analysis of why would someone, a horse on a Dan Ryan, why this
exactly.
and why that. So my take, I mean, your analysis, and because a lot of people want to know, like, there's sometimes that maybe a radio personality would say, we got to have this guy on or this person on, and you're like, that person is full of BS.
Right, but if somebody really wants them and it's their show, if it's their name on the show, and I'll be like, okay, cool, and it goes both ways, because there's some people that are full of it, as you say, and then there's some people that I think didn't get the whole story out, just like the man with the horse, and you're talking to somebody that, like, I'm a person, I will pull over for a squirrel on the road. I'll be that person that you can honk at, give the finger, because I'm like such an animal person that I will put animals before some humans sometimes. So I love animals, the animals so much. And so, but sometimes I just look at things like, okay, some things to me just aren't what they seem. And so you give people sometimes a fair chance. You just have to pick and choose, just like, with anything. But I just think you have to still be credible. If I don't see something on the news, if it's not on CNN, WGN is very credible. Tyra Martin too. She's made a really nice comment earlier. If it's not like a WGN or NBC, if it's not something that's credible, ABC, NBC, I'm not going to. Fox, I don't know. And South, I have a lot of friends that work at Fox, but whoever said that they did that story on Dave Chappelle and put Bokeem Woodbine's picture up, two different people, but that's another.
How did that happen? Right?
I don't know. That was, you make mistakes, but they make some, whoever does those need to, be on a little timeout for a little bit. But, for the most part, you just, you want to be somebody that people trust. At least I do. If you want to be somebody that's like an Enquirer, National Enquirer, that's on you, but I'd rather go the route where people feel that they can trust me. We have fun, we do things, I see people out. I just like, same thing when I MC parties. I love to have the whole audience in my hand, because I use my humor to, play with the audience and have fun. And I love doing that. I love having a whole audience just listen and kind of laugh at what you're doing and have fun with it. So
how you transform your personality along with the host personality to produce a good show? Let's say I'm a big hit. Let's say you're producing a Drive at 5, okay?
Okay.
You say that Roman egotistical maniac, that's, yeah, but I love him, but he's just how you transform your personality. And you worked with quite a few
Right.
personalities. The earlier question was how you adapt, but now how you produce for them.
Well, and it depends because I wouldn't talk about you outside of me and you. If I did have an issue or if I felt a certain way, like, dude, okay, let's check your ego a little bit. Like, I would do something probably in a funny way, or I would try and say, you know what, this is what I think you could do, or I think we can do this better. I think this would work really well with you. Ultimately, it's your show. You make the final decision. But I have some people that never question what I did, like Sam Silk. Sam Silk never questioned. Trey the Chocolate Jack, Trey would sometimes question, but ultimately he would agree with me. You know, Trey would be like, no, do we really need them on the show? They're just a support. Like we had this comedian on the show and it was a Friday. And I said, Trey, can we have him on? He's like, well, Lisa, you know, he's in all these movies, but he's not like the main person. I said, Trey, but he's hilarious. And he's my friend, you know, well, not, that's not why I wanted him on. Cause even if you're my friend, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But I said, he's so funny. He's going to be huge. You know, it's a Friday. Let him come and sit and hang with us. He's like, okay, finally. So you can bring Kevin Hart in the studio. And so that's what it was. And then, you know, so sometimes, but he would ultimately listen, you know. And then we had another situation when Simeon won men's, you know, the basketball. And I said, you know what, can we bring these, you know, these students on because, you know, they're doing something good. And Trey's like, well, who wants, you know, I said, but they didn't do anything bad. I said, I guarantee, I said, they're doing something positive for the, you know, for Illinois, for, you know, whatever, they're representing in a positive way. I said, I guarantee one of these three guys is going to, you know, be big like in the next couple of years. So we had this guy, Tim Flowers, Kevin, something or another, and this other kid named Derek Rose. And the three of them came on the show. Well, hello, a year and a half later, Derek Rose, you know what I mean? So, and the funny part was Trey ran into like Derek's family after that. And they were like, oh, because we were the only ones that did an interview with them. And they didn't forget it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Derek's family didn't forget that. So you never know. And that's one thing I will say. They all have put their trust in me. You know, like Rick Party would trust me. Sam Silk would be like, you know, pretty much, go ahead, I trust you. Stone Pony, you know, they all knew that I would do everything that would be positive for the show. And so when you have that trust level and that good chemistry between each other, I think that helps a lot. You definitely have to have good chemistry and be able to work together and realize that we're here to do something. We want all of us to benefit. So we all want bonuses. We want to be number one. And, you know,
How you, as a producer, how you develop that trust?
I think it's just your character. You have to be true to yourself. And it's the way, you know, it's your delivery. You know, I think people realize I'm a person, I pretty much try and tell like it is, you know, but I'm not mean spirited. Everybody, you know, gets to know. Sometimes I'm known as being a little too nice, which I've been yelled at about that before in a good way, because people are like, you're too nice to everybody. But you know, I think when they kind of see how you are and they see your personality and they see your work ethics and, you know, your timeline, like for me, even when we would go out of town, like all the guys would be like, okay, wake me up. Like when Crazy Howard and I would go on, Crazy would be like, okay, wake me up at this time. Like, who's going to wake me up? I was like everybody's alarm clock. We didn't have cell phones where you press your little clocks and stuff. So I would be like the wake up call for everyone. And, you know, everybody would just kind of put their trust in me, but which is a good quality because you want people to trust you. And, you know, when you have that trust between each other and that good back and forth, you know, it definitely helps. But everybody's got to give and not just be a taker, you know.
True.
And, you know,
Also, you teach producing, like producing 101. What is the number one mistake or mistakes most producers make producing the show?
well, it's funny you said that, because I'm going to be so I teach radio classes in college, or I was, COVID kind of put us on hold a little bit, but I was teaching a few different classes like monetizing. I was teaching things, but we also did workshops, and I'm actually going to be doing some Zoom classes about producing 101. Like, I think that I want everybody to know, when people do their shows, it's not just opening up a mic and looking cute or doing your personality. Now, if you can talk, it definitely helps, because some people, like my friend Dawn Hendricks Millhouse, Dawn just started doing broadcasting. Dawn has a nice, pleasant voice. Dawn is very, she's a great conversationalist. Dawn's good storyteller. So she had an edge on all of that. So sometimes, and her interviewing skills are great. And so she just started like 4 months ago, but she's already doing a really great job because she's very thorough with her interviews. She really researches, and everybody has their own knack and their own way of doing things, but people still do things wrong. Like when you have a guest on, you can't just tell a guest, okay, we have our guest on, tell us what's your name and what do you do? Like, you would never turn on Ellen or the Tonight Show and they would be having a guest tell them their name. You know what I mean? You have to be the one to introduce them. You can say, well, we know a little bit, but tell us about your journey. It's the way you deliver it. Also, when you open and close a mic, and you want to, sometimes your guest might be boring. You have to be the one to pull it out. We've had, Lord knows, we've had some boring interviews, and you have to make it fun. You have to be the one, and then you laugh about it later, because we had, and I love him as a basketball player, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but we had him on a couple times and he had his book out. So we're like, so your brand new book, blah, 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 is about growing up. Yep. So tell us about your book. Yeah. So it's like, okay, pull it out. So you want to be the one, if you have the information too, then you're like, okay, Kareem's book is about this and this, and I heard it's great. So sometimes some guests just aren't, talkers, you know what I mean? Just because you're a guest doesn't mean you're a great talker or a great interviewer, so interviewee. So the host has to take over and compensate, saying, or if you're doing you have somebody on that's doing a concert, and then you say, okay, well, so I see you're going to be at the Allstate Arena this Friday night. I see for tickets, you can go to Eventbrite, and you just kind of have to be the one to take over. You just have to play off your guests and the show for the content. So it's a lot of little things, but once you learn some of the little things and how to research for guests, but I'm going to be putting that out there in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing a few just like our Zoom classes for people that are really trying to be in the industry or start their shows. And then I'm going to do a monetizing one about getting, when you send things out to get sponsors and how you can get little sponsors for your shows and the proper way of doing things. So this way you kind of have a path to go, and then you take your personality and use it and make the rest. So
as a producer, how do you make it work for the betterment of the show? For the betterment of the show, a lot of people would say, let's say a guest canceled at the last minute, and you're scrambling, and for the betterment of the show, for the better of the show, how you make it work.
Well, it depends, because there's a life happens, there's things that happen. Unfortunately, something happens at the last minute. So either you just move on and you don't mention it, or you can maybe get another guest. It's the way you do it. Sometimes people, you don't have to bring attention to it. If somebody can't be a guest, you just move on and do something else. You can just say, you know what? It's all, like I said, the delivery. The one thing I will say about producers, being a great executive producer, you're like the backbone of the show. So you have to make sure that your personality is happy, whatever your features are. You want to make sure your features are on point. You want to make sure your stories, the guests, you want to just make sure everything is on point. And nowadays, because of all the, a lot of people, not because of COVID, but just people combining positions. They call the engineer, the board op, the producer. And like, I remember I was introducing somebody, I was doing the AC Green show at Soul 106, and I was, producing for AC, and I was introducing somebody, and they said, I said, oh, and this is the board operator, the engineer. And they said, oh, no, I'm the executive producer. I'm thinking, no, they're giving you these positions. And that's the one thing, I love my program directors, but they're calling them producers, but they're not really doing what old school producers did. They're producing, and I'm not taking away any of their talents, but also an engineer is very important. People take away, I don't know why, a board op / engineer is extremely important. I tell people, it's like when you're driving, when you're in a plane, that board operator engineer is your pilot. Everything that they do, that they put out there, is because of them. If they, when everything you hear is because they're making it happen. Then if you want a real executive producer, that producer is the flight attendant. They have to be hands-free to do everything else. But because they've been downsizing, they combine positions. And I'm not saying people can't do it, they can, but for like a morning show or a very busy show, it's hard to have that same person doing everything. They do make it work, and kudos to everybody that's doing it, like that. But things have kind of changed. Like some of the names have changed a little bit because they kind of combine positions, even though they're all important. To me, an engineer / board operator is extremely important, because if you hear something bad on the radio, it's because of that person. But that person usually fixes everything and makes you hear everything the way it should come out. So it's a team effort. You know what I mean? It's a team effort. But the producer really needs to be the backbone of the show. So anything that you need, whether it's a feature, something to make it work, a guest, getting you having a snowstorm. So for me, when we did mornings, I would be calling my friends Andy Avalos at Channel 5, or I would be calling Tracy Butler at Channel 7 to see if we can get them on, because they're the top of, they're the morning show top people doing, weather. So I would try and get them on. You just think ahead. You always want to think and like just put things in, but everybody has their own style. And, some people can make it work, and you just have to take it seriously and have fun at the same time, and even some of the people who's been combined now, a lot of them are still doing great. I see a lot of them, and I still, want them all to succeed and do well.
Yeah, Courtney Hicks is anchoring news.
Oh, Courtney's doing great. She's doing TV now. Yeah, Courtney's got a great voice. So just like Gene Sparrow is doing TV, Courtney and Gene, there's some people that do really well on both. And yeah, Courtney's doing, I'm so happy for Courtney because she's doing really, really well.
What is the best advice you can give an inspiring producer?
Well, first of all, I would tell everybody to stay humble, be yourself, use the resources. Things now with internet and things are easy, but be credible. That's credible is probably one of the most important things, because if you want to go anywhere in this industry, people will look at that. So you want to be credible, and make sure the stories, even like some of these fake stories about some of these hoaxes about people looked up and they saw all these things flying around that are cleaning up the city and dropping things and sanitize. Be credible. And, just because somebody sends you a story, research it. It could have resurfaced from 7 years ago. So be credible. Never burn bridges with anybody. One thing that's like, I can walk into WGCI, Power 82, Soul 106.3, iHeart, like they're all like family. I didn't burn bridges with anybody. They're all still family, and I still stay in touch. A lot of people, some people will, have not so kind words. I'd rather not put it out there. I don't put my words out there like on social media to bash somebody, because you never know too. One day your intern might be your boss the next day. You never know that. So I always trying, you can learn a lot from an intern. You can learn a lot from somebody that's been in the industry 50 years, somebody that might have something brand new and they just started a week ago. So, it's, to me, it's just, that's I would say definitely stay humble. Don't burn any bad bridges and just be yourself. Be yourself. And the women especially, don't hate on each other. There's enough fame and fortune for all of us, because we know that it's still a male dominating industry, but sometimes the women sometimes are more in a competition. It doesn't have to be like that. Welcome each other and look out for each other.
What will be Lisa E's legacy you want people to remember you by?
Probably my sense of humor, playing jokes on people, being loyal, being a team player, getting stuff done. I'm very, very detailed, organized. So probably that, but I like playing jokes on people. So I like the fact that everybody, looks at me and they'll be like, okay, she's going to tell either something funny or corny or whatever. But, and I don't want people thinking that, I don't ever want somebody thinking I'm phony or fake or, not true to things. So yeah, definitely probably all of that, I guess.
Well, a lot of people look at my personality and they don't think I'm a comedian or anything like that. Here's Roman with the yucks. They don't think of me like that.
Well, but everybody's got a different, everybody's got, I was always the big mouth in school. I always wanted to be an entertainer, even when I was little, because I do a lot of voices. I do different voiceovers and I do different character voices. So I used to entertain all my friends when I was like in grade school, in high school.
You shouldn't have told me that. Now I'm going to put you on the spot.
High school, I used to call in for ditch day. I called in for I was white, black, Hispanic, male, female. Because I went to Hillcrest, so we were very diverse. I used to call in for everybody for ditch day, and it was hilarious. I'm like, how did they not know it was the same person calling in for like 8 different people? So it was pretty funny.
Give me one impression. One impression.
Singing or talking?
I
used to do a lot of Broadway stuff. I wanted to be on Broadway. I used to do Annie. I used to do Ethel Merman. I used to do a lot of show tunes. I used to do.
If I pick Broadway, will it be a strain on your voice or?
Well, we could try it. If I start coughing, I apologize. But I don't know if you know Ethel Merman. Ramon. It was funny. We used to have a client that would call in on Ramonski's show and be like, "Could you please do some Ethel Merman for me?" So. Or Annie, whichever one you want. You tell me.
Annie.
Okay, I'm gonna try with my cold, everybody. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.
All right.
I usually have to stand up when I start going, when I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely. Okay.
Give IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station where they can get a hold of you, contact with you, and take some of your classes.
Yeah, definitely. Like Instagram, if you just go to Instagram, Lisa E Radio, spell it out, LISAERADIO. So if you go to Instagram, and I'm very easy to reach out to. If you reach out to me, send a message, it might take a day or two, but I do respond to people. And I also manage an artist. So people book, my artists. I manage Shaun White, R&B singer, fell into that. I said I would never manage anybody, but it kind of fell into it and the timing was right. And he's the only one I'm going to manage, but he's literally right there. He's amazing singer. He's got radio play. He just, right before COVID, he opened up for Drew Hill, Joe, and Avant. So that was a pretty big show. And, hopefully getting on a couple more shows coming up right now. He sang at a few weddings. His song Kisses. He just sang that.
It will be on a soundtrack, right?
Oh yeah, he's got two of his songs that's going to be played on a movie coming up, and we're working out all the contracts and everything right now. It was supposed to come out Valentine's Day, but they're pushing it back a little bit because of COVID. But yeah, he's got two of his songs. He's doing a cover for a magazine. Um, he's doing yeah, he's got a lot of stuff coming up. So festivals and things, of course, with COVID, it got pushed back. But like I said, he did two small weddings. He did his song Kisses when they did their vows and everything. So it's been going pretty well. So you know, so and you can download any of Sean's music. It's at I am Sean White, which is I am SEANWYTE. But if you go to my page too, you can see it all. So you know, so yeah, and I'm very accessible, and I'm going to be doing, like I said, my Zoom classes. I'm going to reach out to people in the industry. It's not going to be expensive at all. It's just going to be an hour, trying to guide some of the new people on some of the 101s and, you know, things that people would never realize. You know, booking guests, you know, when you book somebody from another time zone, you know, like things like that. People don't think about that. Just because you're in Chicago, if you're booking somebody from LA, you got to talk in their terms in LA and then put your time. So you got to calculate times in your head, and it's a lot of stuff. It's not hard. It's just time consuming.
Yeah, the number one thing they always say that you got to, if the you know they're Eastern, you got to put CST and spell it out, Central Standard Time. You know,
No,
you,
but you don't do that. See,
you
that's one of the
don't.
things I'm going to teach. If you know you're talking to somebody on the East Coast, you find out where they're at, and they're East Coast, so they're an hour ahead. So you got your show that's at 5 o'clock. So you would send them a message like, "We're so excited to have LL Cool J calling in at you know, at 6 p.m. Eastern time," and then I would put a parenthesis 5 p.m. Chicago time or Central time. You go by their time first, because they're going to go by their time, and then you also put your time, so I have both, so
Right.
that way there's no type of anything, because that's the worst thing when you get somebody calling in 2 hours before or after because they didn't make that, you know, that connection. And that's one of the things people forget to do. They don't do it, or they do it, well, we'll talk to you at 5 o'clock, but they don't know, a lot of people don't know where you're located, and they don't know Central time. Okay, so that means you're 2 hours ahead of us. We're in LA or Vegas. So you have to be the one to calculate. That's what a good show does. You got to be the one, take charge, put it, so all they have to do is read it, and they're like, oh, cool. Okay, we got everything down. We got everything in control. So
Right.
little
So
things.
Lisa, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Don't be
you. This has been great. Wow, I didn't even realize it's been like an hour. This was great. Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you the very best. And I know we're going to be talking later, and you know, and you just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, and just keep being you, and you know, you're the only one that can do you. So, you know, just keep reaching for the stars and keep taking it to the next level.
Thank you so much. We're we're trying to bring the bad boys.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's going to be a doozy. So thank you so much for joining us. That's going to do it for us on the Drive at 5 on intellectualradio.com/iHeart radio station. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, that's back in the studio doing the board. Wonder who's behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week, and stay safe when
Stay
the
safe,
storm is
and don't be a road bully. Drive safely.
right. Be careful out there. Have a good one, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.